Welcome back, everyone. Well, I'm really excited to announce that over the next couple of months, we're going to be doing another segment on technology. It's pretty apparent by the work that we're doing with TechSmart and Ballston Spa School System that technology more and more is playing such an important role in our country, and especially with our young people. So joining me today for the next couple of months is Ray Appy, who's the president and CEO of Anise and Associates. So first, welcome, Ray.
Thank you, Jesse.
Nice to have you here.
Good to be here.
We searched around and tried to find just the right company that had the right vision, and you popped up on our radar.
I'm glad.
So tell you what, so that we can start off the series, tell us a bit about Anise and Company.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Yeah, Anise and Associates was founded about 45 years ago by Frank Anise, who then succeeded the company to his 4 daughters about 6 years ago. And since then, I've been running the company. We currently have about 120 employees. We have locations throughout New York State, so we cover the entire state geography. And we're about a $100 million company currently. We focus in 3 primary areas of technology now, which is data center, collaboration, that's voice and video, and network infrastructure, so think routing, switching, wireless networks.
You know, before we went on air, Ray and I were talking about the Smart School Bond Act, and we'll jump into that in a second. But when I went on your website, Ray, I've a couple of phrases just really caught me, and I just want to ask you about these.
Okay.
You mentioned digital natives, visual learners, but most importantly, a passion for making connections, devices or technology to people and people to action. That's very succinct. So tell me an idea. Why the passion?
Sure. Well, as a company, we have a passion. Really, what it is about is connecting people to each other and to the data and the things that they need to do their jobs, live their lives, and that involves technology, and it revolves around how they operate. So we have a passion for connecting people to people, but what's in the middle is devices. So we say devices to devices, devices to networks, networks to data centers. That's the connections.
And you know, technology, of course, can be a stumbling block. It can, you know, it serves a lot of purposes, some unintentional, right? So with that whole idea, visual learners obviously are the young kids. And I really like the way you phrase that. Why are they visual learners?
Well, they're just learning differently than we did when we were growing up. You know, everything, all the media that hits them constantly is, you know, 10-fold, 20-fold more than we had when we were young. And so the way that children learn today is it is very visual, and it's not, you put a student in a classroom today and give them textbooks and papers and pens, and they're bored out of their minds, you know, most of them immediately, and it's because of the way that they're being raised today. It's a very different culture today than it was, you know, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So yeah, they're learning visually, and everything that they do is on a device. They're looking at screens all the time. And it's just visual, and so if you look at, for example, the new programs in schools for teaching children, it's really based around that. That's what it's all about now. It's about trying to move from that traditional approach to a more visual format that they can absorb better, because that's how they're brought up.
You know, Ray, I got a quick sidebar here. My granddaughter's 3 years old, and I'm trying to do something on an iPad. She walks over, she says, "No, Papa, like this."
She showed you how, right?
Yeah, showed me how to do it. She's 3 years old. That's what this technology means. Digital natives, obviously the generation that grew up in technology, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and so we're the opposite of that. I mean, it found us later in life, but the kids today are born with it. There's, you know, you can go on the internet and find pictures of infants holding iPads and playing games on it, and you know, it's a little scary, but yeah, that's a digital native, one who's born into that world.
You know, the one thing that we're finding is that the fundamentals are pretty much the same. You know, reading, writing, math, and sometimes people put the arts in there, which I also enjoy, because that's also very, very beneficial. So let's jump to the Smart School Bond Act.
Sure.
And your interest in that. Now, Anise and Associates specializes in, you work with hospitals, you work with larger companies, right?
Yes.
So, all right, so drilling down to where we are now, the landscape that you see, well, how do you feel about this Smart School Bond Act?
I think it signifies that our government and the voting public wants to invest in education, that we all understand the importance of it, and that we have to be competitive in this global economy. And if we're not investing in the education of our children, then, you know, we all should be worried about the future of America. So I see the Bond Act as a way to invest in our public school system, put the technology infrastructure in place so that the children who are visual learners and digital natives can absorb their learning in the way that they can best and have access to information and all the tools that they need today to compete and do well in college and to do well in the workforce, because without that they won't.
You know, I told Ray before we went on air that I heard an interesting phrase today, reshoring.
Reshoring, yeah.
And reshoring is, you know, the companies that offshore are bringing those that manufacturing base, or looking to bring the manufacturing base back here in America. Very interesting sidebar is that the commentator said that one of the stumbling blocks is that there isn't enough of a skilled workforce.
Right.
Tell me that doesn't revolve around technology.
It completely does, and that's scary too. So yeah, we have to build that. We have to build that back into our society so that we can bring manufacturing and all those jobs back here to the United States.
You know, Ray, just one last thing before we go.
Sure.
Anise and Associates, how are you going to be involved in this helping with this Bond Act?
Well, right now, nobody's really sure on how the money will flow, what schools will get what and for what. So the way that we're engaging right now with the 400 plus public school districts that we work with throughout New York State is sitting down with those educators and administrators and planning for the future, looking at assessing what they have today, what designs and plans will make sense for them in the future, and getting all that information ready so that when the Bond Act actually kicks in and the money starts to flow, they'll be able to go right out and get started on their projects. So right now it's all about assessment, planning, and design.
Right, and over the next weeks we're going to be delving into each one of these sort of topics individually so that you as educators, parents, students, or whatever will get an idea of how encompassing all of this is. You know, one last thing, Ray, I went online and looked at all the schools in our region, everything in Saratoga County, Warren County, and Washington County. All the schools are listed as being participant school systems for this Bond Act. I think it's fabulous, and the voters passed it.
Absolutely.
Right? It's passed November.
That's a strong signal. That's what we need, and that's what they want.
Oh, Ray, the timing on this is just perfect. Again, over the next weeks, we're going to be talking about this in much more specific detail.
I look forward to it.
We gave the overview, and thanks for coming in. I'll see you right after the holidays.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jesse.
Okay, you're welcome.
Right,
See this interview again, head to our website, looktvonline.com.